second slide. So I'll just jump right into the second slide. Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about design thinking. Oops, I'm in the wrong window. Here we go. I've got two screens, so I'm trying to navigate both screens. So I'm Dr. Kirsten Schaefer. I'm a human-centered design researcher and educator. I've had over 11 years teaching at Toronto Metropolitan University. I actually come from a fashion background. And I've been using human-centered design and design thinking in that context. And currently, and just as of this year, I've started teaching at a different school, Wilfrid Laurier University, where I teach design thinking in the user experience design program. So that's been a lot of fun, shifting the skills over into direct UX applications. My background is, as I mentioned, in human-centered design. I have developed apparel solutions for people with specialized needs. On the right side of the screen, you can see there's a woman wearing, it's a sleepwear ensemble, and it's for women who have had a mastectomy after or because of breast cancer. And so they use a prosthetic, and so designing clothing to meet their very specialized needs. My PhD work examined user experience in the knitting industry, and I did some postdoctoral work looking at textile-based sensors and electrodes. So all of my previous UX and design thinking research was very product-based and physical products. And I like to remind, when I'm teaching my classes, I like to remind my students, we see a lot of UX in digital spaces, and that's primarily what people think of, especially if you look at jobs that are being posted, but really it's the concept that applies to any product, whether it's digital or physical. So currently I'm a UX researcher at Manulife Financial, and I am working on a number of projects applying the same types of concepts and processes, but now in a digital space. So that is a little bit about me. So let's just jump into, I know that most of you are familiar with basic UX design principles. So some of this may be things you already know, but for me anyways, I always find it nice to hear about even the same things from different people. You might have a slightly different perspective and learn something new. So I hope that among this you'll learn something new that's useful for you. So what is human-centered design? So human-centered design, this is a quote from the Field Guide to Human-Centered Design. It's a book by IDEO, and it's a free book you can get online. I can provide the link if you don't already have this book. It's a nice resource. It's not super detailed, but it's a good overview of a lot of processes that you could consider in design thinking and human-centered design. So human-centered design is embracing human-centered design means believing that all problems, even the seemingly intractable ones like poverty, gender equality, and clean water, these are solvable. And moreover, it means that believing that the people who face these problems every day are the ones who hold the key to their answer. So I was talking to someone the other day about the concept of human-centered design. We are designing for people to meet their needs. And the person said, well, aren't all products designed for human needs? Aren't they designed with this in mind? And I thought that was a great question, because to me, the answer is very clearly different, but sometimes it can be hard to articulate. So on the surface, yes, all products that are consumable, that are purchasable, are designed for people, unless maybe it's something for your pet, or there's other products, but we're designing for people generally. And but does it mean that it's actually meeting the actual needs of the people they're designing for? So think about websites. We all have experience with the internet. Has anyone ever encountered a website that caused any problems? And I would love your responses. You can turn on your mic or you can type in the chat. I'll try and check the chat periodically to any questions come up. Has anyone encountered a website recently where something was frustrating to them? Any thoughts? Maybe you couldn't find something. Yes, go ahead. Just unmute yourself and you can speak.
Yes, recently I was trying to make a website portfolio for myself. I'm a junior UX designer. I went to a platform that provides this service. I tried to do one. I created a website. I tried to delete it and make another version, but I couldn't do this. This made me decide to exit the website and not trying Mhm.
So something in the website design, it prevented you from completing your task is what I'm understanding from that. And if we think about it, this website was designed by the company in the hopes that you will come to it and maybe buy something or, you know, complete the task that you want to do. So the design, they did have you in mind in a sense, but they didn't actually think through the actual needs that you would need when you're there. So yes, the website was designed for you and people like you who would be using it, but they're falling short in some way. So human-centered design tries to fill that gap to avoid those pitfalls, to make sure that we're thinking through the process, the actual experience of the people using it, and design thinking is a process that we use to navigate that, to try and address all those gaps so that when we design for someone, we're actually putting ourselves in their shoes and designing for what they actually need. So we're looking at the context, the behaviors, values, and experiences of people, and trying to find solutions that fit within what they are already doing, so it's seamless. And so for a business context, designing in this way, you know, hopefully this means we are also improving sales, we're improving engagement and loyalty. If people have a good experience, if they feel that they're understood, they're going to probably come back. So it's a win-win. The customer is happy, the business is happy, everybody's happy. This is the goal. So I realized I switched my slide on the other one. This was my slide. Again, two screens. Here we go. So I like to do a little activity. And I'd like you to go to this website. Please let me know if this website works for you. It's menti.com, and there's a code at the top of the screen. Code is 8910-9621. Is anyone having any issues with accessing the website? So the question asks, how would you describe your perfect bed? And Amira, I don't know if you were recently in a meeting where we did this little activity, but I thought it was a good one. So I'd like you to go to this website and describe what is your perfect bed, your ideal bed. When you think about your dream bed, what's involved? I'm going to go to the site so I can share the responses as they come.
Okay, I'm just gonna type the code in the chat again. 8910-9621. جماعة هتدخلوا على الويب سايت ده اللي هو اسمه menti.com واكتبوا الكود ده واكتبوا الانسرز هناك لو سمحت.
So I'm on the website.
We do have 1 minute left and then we'll submit all the votes.
If you're having trouble with the site, you can also type them into the chat. It's nice to visualize the on the screen if possible, but just going to check that this is working on my end.
الويب سايت اسمه menti.com يا آية واكتبي الرقم ده وحطي فيه الإجابة بتاعتك. هتلاقي فيه تكست بوكسز كتيرة كده تحت بعضيها، حطي الإجابة بتاعتك فيه. تمام, everyone is good?
Okay, so I'm not sure why it's not showing results. There we go. I have one result. I think you have to submit. Oh, here we go.
Oh. Guys, احنا عندنا 25 حد في الروم, مفيش غير حد واحد بس هو اللي بعت, فبليز لو سمحتوا بعتوا اكتر يعني.
Okay, so we have a few results here. So maybe if folks want to put in the chat as well. So think about the details. So very comfortable. That's a great one, a great descriptor. What does comfort mean for you? What features on your bed do you like to have? What makes it comfortable? And you can chat or you can unmute yourself. What kind of bedding do you like to have? So someone else said they want the bed to be flexible. What does that mean? What does flexible mean to you? I want it to be big enough. I know I like to stretch out when I sleep, so I agree on that one. Nice big bed, big, comfortable. What about pillows? Clean, good, yeah. Simple design, okay. So not too cluttered. Go some more. Yeah, so comfortable. Perfect for your tall frame, so long enough for your height. What do you like to put on the bed? Do you like blankets? Sheet? Okay. 3 pillows with silk cover, very specific, I like it. Also large blanket, average size, great. Okay, so we have some great descriptions of what a bed needs to have for you to be happy with where you're going to go to sleep. Comfortable, soft, neat. Somebody likes to multitask in their bed. Okay, let's go to the next one. So the next slide, now I'd like to, I guess someone jumped to the next. Sorry, if there were this looks like it might have been a bit confusing. That was probably my fault. So I'd like you to describe, what does relaxation look to you? So not just your bed, but think about the concept of relaxation. What makes you feel relaxed? What are the conditions that relax you? So one answer already, soft and fluffy. I think that's referring to the bed, but I'm also thinking about my cats. They are soft and fluffy and they relax me too. Soft music, yeah. So sound. Any other thoughts? Quiet. So a couple things for sound. No tasks. That's a good one. When we don't have anything on our mind. No, nothing to think about. So playing piano. So are you playing piano when you're relaxing, or you're listening to a playing piano? Either way, we're talking about sound again. Seashore sound. Good. So thinking about, and you can keep typing if you like, thinking about the comments that are, lots more here. Warm. So you're warm, you're calm. Chocolate, that's a good one. Classical music, fresh juice. Sounds delicious. Awesome. Listening to podcasts. So we see a lot of things that are coming up are not just the bed, the place where you're relaxing, but the actual environment where you're relaxing as well. The sound you're hearing, the place. We have a beach, also about how you feel about your responsibilities. What are you thinking about when you relax? And hopefully you have a nice clear mind, not weighed down by other obligations that might be stressing you out. You're lying down, looking at the sky. So the sky is so relaxing to look at, especially a nice clear blue sky, even gray skies sometimes, or rainy days, we can look out at the clouds. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to close that for now. We'll come back to that in a bit. So just make sure that. Okay, so when we compare the two questions together, we have, the very specific physical items of the bed and the sheets and the blankets and the size of the bed. And then when we think about relaxation, it's a bit more, it's more about the experience and feelings. And how do these things connect together? Would you say that, is there a relationship between the bed that you sleep on and the overall feelings and experience when you go to sleep? You can type in the chat if you want. So I'm going to jump ahead and so yes, typically, and based on the comments about relaxation as well, we don't just need a comfortable bed to have a good night's sleep. We ideally have all those other things that you described as well. We're calm, we have space, there's maybe calming music or soft sounds. Maybe we have some chocolate before bed. So let's bring this back to design. So how does this apply to design? So let's say, for example, you're doing work for a hotel chain and the CEO has come to you and says, I want to design the best bed for our guests ever. And it has to have these things. It has to have large blankets, silk pillowcases. It has to be big enough for the tallest people that will come in. And these are the things that they'll make people want to stay with us. And I mean, that sounds pretty great, but I could probably go for a nap in a bed like that now. But what's missing from this is the actual experience and the other things that people have to keep in mind. It's not just the bed, it's about the entire environment. It's about the entire feeling that they feel to allow them to relax, to have a good night's sleep. So the key here is empathy. And this is leading into the next step on design thinking. So one of the most important factors to consider when you're practicing human-centered design and design thinking is that we must empathize with our users to gain that deep understanding of their lived experience and really put ourselves in their shoes. So always remember, you are not the user. You might be a user of some products, but you are not the user. You are designing for the user. And it's important to remember that your experiences are not necessarily the same as your user. So you have to go in with an open mind and really let users speak for themselves, share their own thoughts and feelings. And empathy is different from sympathy. So sympathy means you're understanding someone's situation from your own perspective and experiences. But empathy means that you're really putting yourself in their shoes and really thinking about the circumstances from their perspective and understanding what they're going through. So how do we do this? This is where design thinking comes into the picture. And perhaps, again, this might be something you're familiar with. So there's lots to dig in when it comes to design thinking, but I'm going to keep it brief and focus on the main first phases. And I'll leave you with some resources as well to do some follow-up on your own. So design thinking is a human-centered methodology, which is why I was mentioning human-centered design at the beginning, that helps us understand our users, consider different perspectives, generate innovative ideas, and create and test practical design solutions. Oops. So think about a time when you've experienced a bad design of the product and someone mentioned a website that wasn't working properly. Maybe it wasn't clear about what you were supposed to do with it, or it didn't do what you expected it to do, and it made it really difficult to engage with. So an example, or a very common example that is referenced is, have you ever tried to open a door by pushing it only to learn that you were supposed to pull? So you're pushing the door, you're supposed to pull, and maybe you walk into the door and it's uncomfortable and it was not clear at all what you were supposed to do. So this ambiguous door even has a name. We call these Norman doors, and it's named after Don Norman, who is one of the most influential designers in the world. And he's also an expert in cognitive science and psychology. So the ambiguous nature of these poorly designed doors was highlighted in his book, which I've pictured here, called The Design of Everyday Things. If you haven't read this book already, I highly recommend. Today, many designers even use the term Norman doors to refer to anything that's ambiguous. So it could be on a website where you're not sure where you're supposed to click to buy the thing that you want to buy. It could be anywhere. So I'm wondering if you've ever experienced something that you would consider a Norman door in your own life. Any products or something you've interacted with where it was just not clear how it was supposed to work? So you can think about that. I know that one thing comes to mind. Type it in the chat when you have an idea, and I'll check it in a bit. One thing comes to mind for me as a big one, maybe you'll agree, are these guys, USB keys. It always seems to take 3 tries to get it on the right direction. So now these are a bit older. Now we have better solutions. We have the USB-C cables where it doesn't matter which way you put them, but the person who designed these wasn't fully thinking about or empathizing with the actual user of the product. They weren't thinking that, I'm just going to grab this from my desk and I'm going to stick it in my computer. Oh, it doesn't work. I have to turn it the other way. oh, that didn't work either. That's frustrating. So they weren't really using a design thinking process. They weren't empathizing with their users. So there's a number of models that are out there for design thinking. There's actually lots of models out there, and a quick Google search will give you a list and lists of different approaches, but there's two key ones that I'm going to highlight. So the first one is this one. So this is the 5-step design thinking approach that is used at the Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design at Stanford, which is commonly known as D-School. And in this process, as I mentioned, there's 5 distinct stages. So on the left, we have empathize. And then next we have define, so defining the problem. Then ideate, where we're thinking about potential solutions. Prototyping, where we're actually developing tangible products and solutions from those ideas. And then testing. So we want to validate the idea that you came up with and test it with actual members from the audience that you're designing for. So it's important to remember that each phase here, it sort of looks like a line, but really this is very iterative. It's almost cyclical rather than linear. So even though you might start here, ideally you're starting with empathize to understand what the problem is, but you might get down to ideate and realize, you know what, we didn't really define the problem properly. You got to jump backwards, and then you flow through to prototype, and this prototype doesn't capture what our users want, so we got to go back, do some more research and empathize with them. So it's very messy. It's design is the messy middle. Everything doesn't flow in a linear form, and you have to be flexible and willing to adapt to it. But these are the key phases that are generally involved. And there are simplified versions of this and more complex. But the second approach, which aligns well with the first one, is this is the double diamond model. This was by the British Design Council in the mid-2000s. And the focus here is on divergent and convergent thinking. So on the left, we begin with our discovery phase over here. And what divergent thinking means is that we are opening up and thinking about all the possible ideas we are generating. We want to think about and get lots of information here. And then we're talking to our users, we are collecting as much information as we can, and then we go to defining. So from that big set of information, we are focusing in on what is the most important factor that we can address to solve a problem. Sometimes there's multiple areas that you might need to address. And then you'll have to decide which area you can focus on.